Imagine you are an unsuccessful TV actress, struggling to distinguish yourself from the talented actors around you who are just as beautiful. You have nothing unique to offer. You are just another cog in the machinery, with dreams too big for your own good. And then you remember, oh shit, I'm white.
Wait a minute. I'm white!
I'm Polity Gilbert, and today I will be telling you how you too can use systems of exploitation for your own monetary gain, prey on and exasperate the insecurities of 1 billion people for your own monetary gain, and contribute to an open secret of a system of supremacy created by your ancestors less than 80 years ago for your own, say it with me, monetary gain. Today, I will be showing you how to colonize the Indian film industry, like Amy Jackson. The rise of Amy Louise Jackson. Amy Louise Jackson's life started out somewhat normal. She was born on the 31st of January in 1992, somewhere in the Great Britain, to Margarita? Okay, whatever. Margarita and Alan Jackson, who divorced some years after she was born. But before she was a child of divorce, when she was 2 years old, her family moved to Liverpool to live with her grandmother in Woolton, so her father could continue his career with BBC Radio Merseyside. Amy was your average upper-middle-class teenager attending Catholic school from ages of 3 to 16 with the intentions of pursuing English literature, philosophy, and, interestingly, ethics. Her older sister Alicia, oh my gosh. How am I butchering British names? Okay, alright, this is how it feels. Her older sister Alicia ended up becoming a school teacher. Except, she wasn't the most average. Amy was extremely beautiful. Amy is very beautiful, there is no denying that. She quickly began pursuing beauty pageants and partaking in modeling. After winning the Miss Teen Liverpool and Miss Teen Great Britain pageants, Jackson won the title of Miss Teen World in 2009, which resulted in her getting a modeling contract in the United States of America. This pageant was really what turned Amy's life around. According to BBC News, Amy Jackson had never acted professionally nor visited India when she was spotted online and cast in an Indian film. It was on Miss Teen World website that none other than actor Vijay asked Amy to play the role of his love interest in the upcoming Tamil movie Madrasapattanam. Okay, so now I'm gonna give everybody a brief history of brownface to kind of just explain what Amy does. Brownface is typically defined as a social phenomena in which a white or light-skinned person attempts to portray themselves as a brown person of color, but less overtly and with a lighter complexion than the traditional blackface. This may include a mimicry of North African, South Asian, Hispanic or Latino, Native American, and any other ethnic group that may be socially perceived to be brown by using makeup, hair dye, and or by wearing traditional ethnic clothing. Now, why might this be a problem? I mean, after all, isn't imitation the greatest form of flattery? Oh, not in this case. According to Wikipedia, minstrel shows have been seen within the United States since slavery. They relied heavily on mocking the minority or the foreign, including race, class, and social standing. Their target audience was the white middle class, anybody that was seen as normal or accepted in quotes, and served mainly to reassure them about their own social standings and importance. Brownface, although always an element in these shows, became a much bigger part during the late 1800s and the early 1900s, with a reappearance during the civil rights movement during the 1960s. As economic and social factors during this time encouraged nativism and a shunning of the foreign, the increased immigration from Latin America and India led to the success of these types of shows. Immigrants and foreigners became increasingly unpopular and unwelcome, and entertainment and social norms based on degrading them became stronger. Brownface was used in these shows to reinforce stereotypes, portraying brown people as lazy, stubborn, and unable to assimilate into American life. Which is crazy, but okay. Okay, Bulletty, fine. So, way back in the day, they were a little mean to us, and these stereotypes caused real-life misery to brown people and led to a loss of financial opportunities. Okay, but that's not happening now. I don't know about that. The Simpsons came under criticism in 2018, after Hari Kondabolu released The Problem with Appu, a documentary that examined the show's character Appu, voiced by Hank Azaria. He addressed how several aspects of the character were racial stereotypes that are demeaning to the character as well as Indian immigrants in general. The character's thick Indian accent, voiced by a white male, and the fact that he works at a convenience store were the two main issues addressed by Kondabolu. I mean, I have never really seen Indian representation in Western media that doesn't lean into at least some stereotyping. Feel free to tell me in the comments if there are any shows or movies that you know with some good Indian representation. I would love to see them, and that would really make me very happy. But, well, yeah. Okay, Bulletty. So white people played brown characters in derogatory ways that caused real-life pain and suffering. And this still happens via white actors or writers paying absurd amounts of money to brown actors to bring their caricatures to life, blah 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 blah. What does this have to do with Amy Louise Jackson? Oi, I am getting to it. In this film that is set against the backdrop of the Indian independence in 1947, where she falls in love with a village boy. Now, this film did incredible, both at the box office and with critics. It went on to become one of the biggest hits of the 2010s in India, so that obviously opened up other doors. I never had any expectations of it doing so, but that is what happened, says Amy in an interview with BBC between shoots. Siffy wrote, "It is an out-and-out Amy Jackson show. She is simply amazing to deliver lines in Tamil, and is one good reason to see the film." Behindwoods wrote, "The one who walks away with the top honors is Amy Jackson. for a beautiful portrayal of a lady torn between her love and the mighty empire. She looks absolutely beautiful, emotes well through her expressive eyes, and is able to earn the sympathy of audiences during tough times, Rediff wrote. Amy Jackson is almost perfect as the wide-eyed young girl who is seeing India for the first time, fascinated by its culture. So, obviously, this movie did very well, and Amy Jackson is definitely very, very talented. Her next movie, however, portrayed her in brownface. In 2011, she was signed off to play the role of Jessie in the Hindi remake of the 2010 hit romantic drama film Vinay Tandi Varuvaya. This is the role of an Indian woman who was originally played by an Indian woman, the South Indian actress Trisha Krishnan. And she is light-skinned, she is, but her features are still Indian, and her skin isn't white. It is light, but it is still Indian skin, not Caucasian white skin. And we already have a huge problem with only white-passing actresses playing love interests in most Indian films. But now we are straight up giving the role to a woman who isn't even Indian but British. And it's not like I have some huge hatred for British people. I probably should, considering what I learned in my history classes, but I don't, alright? There are two problems with Amy playing Indian characters in brownface. Two at least. Two problems that I have with it. One, this is a role that would have otherwise gone to an Indian woman, and it is not like we have a lot of opportunities to play the love interest in a film that is not Indian. Amy Jackson could have played the role of a love interest in any film without pretending to be Indian, but because of systematic racism, an Indian woman only really has this opportunity in Indian films. Amy Jackson took away this role from an Indian actress who could have now succeeded because of it. Impact. And here is where I reveal to you, dear audience, that I kind of lied to you in the introduction of this video. It is only human to imagine a person like Amy Jackson, who partakes in an exploitative system and benefits from it, as having been packed into a corner, as this being their last resort. But that is typically not true. I mean, she was Miss Teen World with a modeling contract in the US. She could have done the first movie with Vijay and then use that as a jumping off point to play her own race. But no, she chose to take away that opportunity from Indian actresses simply because she could. Which brings us to my second problem with this whole situation. Amy has Caucasian skin and Caucasian features, which is not a problem in and of itself, obviously. But young brown girls who are already told that they can't be beautiful without being white passing, watching Amy's films and her portrayed as the love interest, the beautiful and desired love interest, think that that is how they should look, that that is the only way to be beautiful as a brown girl. Except she is not a brown girl. She is a white woman pretending to be brown. And it is easy to say that these young girls should not worry about being pretty. They should think about their studies or whatever. But we are talking about brown girls that are also told by adults and all of the media around them that they need to fulfill the role of a beautiful wife first, and then think about their career. That kind of deep insecurity that you will never be loved by someone because you are ugly is one that begins to occur very young in brown girls, and for some, the insecurity never leaves. Even after marriage, you are constantly pitted against lighter women and told that they are better than you at everything. According to Very Well Mind, the halo effect is a type of cognitive bias in which our overall impression of a person influences how we feel and think about their character. Essentially, your overall impression of a person, he is nice, impacts your evaluations of that person's specific traits. He is also smart. Perceptions of a single trait can carry over to how people perceive other aspects of that person. One great example of the halo effect is our overall impression of celebrities. People perceive them as attractive, successful, and often likable. So people also tend to see them as intelligent, kind, and funny. But Amy Jackson is a white woman. You cannot possibly have those features because it's not in your DNA, at least not to a substantial amount. But that is the beauty standard that white women like Amy in the Indian film industry perpetuate. The beauty standard for brown women becomes just being white. Brown women then begin to believe that they are lesser than and couldn't possibly achieve much in their life because they have been constantly sent messages that they are lesser than. But it is not just brown women. This subconscious messaging affects everyone. A 2010 CNN study showed that children of all races pointed to fair-skinned cartoon characters when asked to identify those who were pretty or smart, and attributed negative characteristics to cartoon characters with darker skin tones. Brown women have been treated as such. Studies have shown the existence of a wage gap linked to skin color, which widens as the shade of the worker darkens. The system that Amy contributes to doesn't just lead to a lifetime of insecurity and feeling lesser than in perfectly normal, brown, and beautiful women, but actually causes them to be paid less, approach less for friendships and relationships, and lead an overall poorer quality of life compared to their fairer skin and white-passing counterparts. While in the film she collaborated with Vijay on, she actually plays the role of British or Anglo-Indian women, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. She pretends to be an Indian woman for most of her career. And if you're thinking, thank God, I never grew up watching an Amy Jackson movie, think again. She really sneaks up on ya. I found out about Amy Jackson from a movie poster for this Tamil movie on Netflix where she has red hair and green eyes and is wearing a sari. But apparently this wasn't the first time I had seen Miss Jackson. I grew up watching Amy Jackson and I never even knew. Amy Jackson starred as supermodel Dia in Shankar's romantic thriller film titled I, 2015, and this was the biggest project in her career. the making of the film, one of the most costly Indian films to date, took over 2.5 years, with the major part of the film being shot in China. Yeah, that movie that scared the shit out of me in 6th grade, that caused me so many sleepless nights, and also got that Pookale Satruhoi Varangal Aval Vandu Vittal song stuck to this day in my head, had Amy Jackson in it. I don't care to look up the plot of the film, so I'm gonna recount it for you off of my traumatizing memory of it. Amy is pretty, she falls in love with this dude, but her uncle, okay, I'm not sure if it is her biological uncle, but he is definitely old enough to be. So this dude, he's in love with her, right? Gross. So to get the guy she likes out of the picture, he injects a virus called I into his system and turns him into a monster. To save Amy from marrying this evil dude, her former lover turned monster kidnaps her. Very scary ordeal. Anyway, upon realizing that this monster is actually her former boyfriend, she decides she wants to be with him even if he looks like a lumpy walking piece of shit. And the funny part is, I distinctly remember thinking, thank God this is never gonna happen to me because I'm ugly as shit. Now I have the sense to know that I am not, but if Amy Jackson didn't subject any other brown girl to beauty standards unrealistic for their race, which she did subject many to, she subjected me to them by pretending to be a brown woman when she wasn't. She is British. She also made another appearance in my life by being in that god-awful Sankar movie about the birds 2.0 that we watched during my 9th grade class picnic field trip for any Americans watching. I think this guy tries to commit suicide and then like a bird saves him or something. I don't know. I didn't bother looking up the plot again for this video, but to her credit, she only exploited my insecurities for that first half of that movie because I was very asleep during the second. She was also in Teri in 2016, which I have heard about, where she played the role of a Malayali teacher. Now, I know I was 12 when Teri released, but I could have played the role of that Malayali teacher. I totally could have. I'm Malayali. Let me try. Go stand in that corner till your legs fall off. Right, I am useless in the back of your notebook 100 times. See? Amy took that role directly from me. I've never watched Teri. I'm sure that she berates the kids in a more sexy manner, but like I'm just being accurate here. Anyways. Conclusion. So, whatever happens to an exploitative British actress who made a name for herself, stealing roles from Indian actresses in Tollywood, Mollywood, and Bollywood, she goes on to do the same in Hollywood, of course. No repercussions in the slightest. Amy was cast in Supergirl as Imra Ardeen or Saturn Girl. Okay, so this is where I'm gonna start like a Twitter war. But bear with me here, okay? Imra Ardeen is a powerful Titanian with psychic abilities born in the late 30s or the early 31st century on Saturn's moon, Titan. In the third season of Supergirl, portrayed by Amy Jackson, Imra possesses telekinesis in addition to telepathy, had a sister named Priya, who was killed by a world killer called Blight. Okay, so Imra Din is obviously a Muslim name, and it is very common in the South Asian region. Priya is also traditionally a South Asian name. Now, this character is always depicted as white in the comics. However, I feel like this would have been an incredible opportunity for a Muslim woman, maybe even a white Muslim woman, to play the character. Now, people might disagree with me here, whatever. Like, if you don't agree with me on this point, she has done a lot of other things that you'll probably agree with me on, but I feel like, yeah. But why get somebody that actually belongs to a minority community to play a role that could have gone to a minority community when Amy Jackson could just pretend to be from that community? That's acting, right? So that, folks, is how you too can colonize the Indian film industry. Now make sure to remember these 5 steps. Number 1, be white. This is very important. If you don't have this, be at least very, very close to being white. Number 2, be pretty. This, of course, is referring to Eurocentric beauty standards of attractiveness, and you will enforce these said beauty standards onto millions and millions of unsuspecting young girls. Number 3, have no shame. Having shame or guilt in any kind of way would make you not want to do this, but you should not have any shame. Number 4, throw everything you learned in your former ethics class out a window from your luxury flat in Mumbai. And number 5, have no consequences and have your life made with all the money you cheated people out of, and have diehard fans that will defend you no matter what you do or how you exploit their community. The end.
Wait a minute. I'm white!